For most of us, the Garden of Eden is filed away as a primitive fairy tale, a story of a talking snake and a moral about rules. But the text in Genesis describes something more technical, a master blueprint for human flourishing. It details a world systematically designed to operate in a state called Shalom, experience a longing for justice, or a visceral reaction to beauty. We are recognizing the distance between our current world and that original standard. This Edenic model relies on three interlocking foundational pillars: God's people, in God's place, living under God's rule and blessing. Analyzing how these three pillars were intended to support one another provides the key to understanding the narrative arc of the entire Bible. The first pillar is the place. The creation account depicts a movement from chaos to order, a 6-day engineering process where the environment is prepared to sustain life. The level of detail suggests the care of a parent preparing a nursery. Every stage is pronounced good because it functions exactly as intended to support the residents who haven't even arrived yet. Those residents represent the second pillar, the people. Unlike the animals created according to their kinds, humans are the only component made in the imamo Dei, the image of God. This designation identifies them as the system's primary operators. Their role was active. They were given a royal mandate to rule, subdue, and expand the orderly borders of Eden's harmony out into the rest of the world. This was a rule of stewardship, not ownership. In this system, humans manage the property on behalf of the king, which requires them to operate according to the king's specific instructions. By acting as God's representatives, humanity's work was meant to reflect the king's character of peace and structure across the entire earth. For a system to remain stable, it requires boundaries. While the garden provided near infinite freedom and abundance, it featured one critical constraint at its center. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil functioned as a safeguard for the human relationship with the king. It served as a constant physical reminder of exactly where the king's authority ended and human autonomy began. Think of this boundary as a guardrail on a dangerous cliff. It existed to protect the operators from the lethal consequences of trying to manage the system outside of the Creator's wisdom. The choice was simple: trust the king's definition of what is good, or attempt to redefine the system's moral code for themselves. The second tree, the tree of life, represented a different systemic reality. It showed that human life is not an inherent internal battery that runs on its own. To stay powered, the operators had to receive life as a gift, day by day. Eating from the tree was an active, ongoing dependence on the source of life itself. Flourishing in this kingdom required humans to accept these systemic limits, recognizing that true life and wisdom come from staying connected to the king. When humanity stepped over the guardrail and attempted to define good and evil for themselves, the system fractured. However, the king did not discard the master blueprint. The biblical story begins in the natural garden of Genesis and moves toward a perfected garden city in Revelation. This new Jerusalem completes the Edenic plan, featuring the same pillars: God's people, in God's place, under his rule, with the tree of life in the center. The path back to this system requires a human operator to finally follow the original mandate. In the biblical narrative, Jesus Christ takes on this role. By submitting to the king's authority, even unto death on a cross, he reverses the original human choice to redefine good and evil. This act of perfect obedience functions as a reboot for the broken system. The cross is framed as the new tree that restores the access to eternal life that was lost at the original boundary. The Eden blueprint provides a living promise of a restored future. It describes a world where humanity finally lives in alignment with the King, fulfilling our original purpose of stewardship and trust.